The Oscars are back, and I know what you're thinking. You don't really care, but I'm telling you, grab some popcorn. It's going to be a fun ride this year. We're going to have a great level of outrage. It's only going to swell as we get closer to this because the Oscars nominations for 2024 should be pretty benign. It should be Oppenheimer and then a few other films that no one's heard of, a foreign film called Anatomy of Fall, maybe Killers of the Flower Moon making the list made sense. But Oppenheimer is the one where so many of these categories are perfectly aligned with what Christopher Nolan, the cast, has executed, special effects, all of it. There's a few surprises that will probably come on the way, but reality is Oscars 2024 is all about Barbie. That's right. We can't ever escape this nightmarish film that we're told is so much smarter than it actually is. It actually got a Best Picture nominee. I think at this point, that sort of box office category that the Golden Globes gives out, the fact that they do that token category is the only one that Barbie had won. I think that's exactly what's happening with the Best Picture. Now, again, remember, I like Top Gun Maverick, but I also said there was no chance that it would win Best Picture, things like that. It was just like, it's like a token thing now because they've got so many films that are in this category. So among the list is, American Fiction. I haven't seen most of these films, but I can assure you that I will be watching many of these films. I actually have a couple that are already in the queue, like Holdovers is kind of like up next kind of thing. Past Lives. Now, Poor Things also got a lot of nominations, and Poor Things is sort of a feminist Frankenstein story, which again is why I didn't get my money and why I didn't rush out to go and see it. However, it's not something I'm opposed to seeing. Similarly with Maestro, it's a Spielberg thing. Ugh, another Spielberg thing, like really? But I do like Bradley Cooper. He did get an acting nomination in all of this, which I actually was a little bit surprised by, pleasantly surprised by. Let me blow this up just a tad bit for you guys too, so you can see a little bit more. Um, so yeah, I think that right now most categories are Oppenheimer, to lose. Cillian Murphy and Oppenheimer would be the favorite. We'll watch out some of these other kind of things. Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction will be interesting because that's a film that I haven't seen, but I am interested in seeing. Same thing when you come down to supporting roles. Sterling K. Brown in American Fiction is kind of like the sleeper pick, but they have De Niro in here. Robert Downey Jr. would be among the favorite, but here's what got everybody outraged. Look at that. Ryan Gosling got an Oscar for his role in Barbie. And if you remember my comments on this, and as I would definitely say, he is probably the best performance in the film. He is actually acting. He actually has to perform and deliver such a ridiculous caricature of Ken, this character that's done. So I was great. I think it's great. So we'll come back around to that in a moment. Obviously, Mark Ruffalo and Poor Things. This is a leading role for Annette Bening, Lily Gladstone, The Anatomy of Fall, Maestro, Poor Things. Again, I think everybody thinks that Emma Stone and Poor Things is the favorite. We'll see how this kind of shakes out over the next few weeks. Supporting roles, Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, Daniel Brooks in Color Purple. Now, Danielle Brooks in Color Purple is probably going to be one of the favorites because they need to check their boxes, guys. They have to check their boxes. They gave American Ferrera an Oscar. Let me ask you, other than this ridiculously stupid, sexist, weird speech that she gives in the film, did she do anything? Anyway, it's terrible. Animated feature film is interesting because Boy and the Heron, I have not actually seen. That's a Miyazaki film, and I do actually really want to see. Can't wait to see. But look at this. They give Disney their token nominated with Elemental, and you have this Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Oh, just so outside of it's punching so above its levels with this. I'm not really familiar with Nimona or Robot Dream, so they'll both be on the radar screen for me. And again, folks, just leave your comments. Let me know of any thoughts that you've seen or want to see or something like that you can recommend. Because, like I said, Holdovers is probably up next. I will definitely do an Oppenheimer rewatch and do a full review. I didn't do a review because I didn't really have much to say that had already not been said. It's exceedingly long film. It's going to be one of those things when I watch it for this Oscar thing, that'll probably be the last time I watch it. I don't want to sit through the film again. It's a one and done for me. Cinematography, El Conde, not familiar with. Killers of Flower Moon. Maestro, Oppenheimer should be the winner, and Poor Things. Costume design. Costume design is a little bit of stretch for me on Barbie, but I wasn't totally opposed to that being in the category. But Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things. This is an area which Napoleon, again, it's very, again, way too long. Just no one's alpha in the room to tell Ridley Scott what he can or cannot do, and things like that. It's sort of a crying shame in my opinion because it could have been such a better film, and it just sort of has to meander around and give us a whole bunch of garbage that we don't really care that much about. But I think that for the most part, um, it could easily win here. I don't know. This is one of those this is one of those categories where it's such a weird aesthetic that factors into the winner that it's pretty rare that a film sort of like stands so far above and beyond. But you know what? We'll see. We'll see. Let me run down here. Let's see. We've got directing, which should be obviously Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, but they gave Anatomy of Fall, Killers of Flower Moon, Poor Things, and Zone of Interest. So here's the question, because this is where the internet's gone bonkers. How could Greta Gerwig not get a nomination for Barbie? Okay. So here's how you answer that. Here's what you put on there. You do Twitter, you do whatever. Ask those people who gets kicked off the list. That's what you do. You who kicks which director doesn't deserve to be here? Zone of Interest that none of them have seen. Anatomy of Fall that what are you going to do? You're going to tick Scorsese or Nolan off? Those would be the two that would probably be at the top of the list of favorites. Poor Things would probably be third. So who leaves? Okay. Documentary features. Again, I haven't seen these. These aren't going to be on my radar screen. Not, we'll talk about documentaries in some other world, but not right now. So documentary short films, film editing, which again, Oppenheimer's to lose. Poor Things again, holdovers. International feature. Again, haven't seen most of these. It's a Italian film, Japanese film, Spanish, German, and then of course the Zone of Interest here. I thought Poor Things was a foreign film, so I was confused by this, but it's not here. Makeup and hairstyle. Again, all the same kind of things here. Golda made the list here, which is interesting for the transformation on that film. Music, this is for score, American Fiction. Look at this. Indiana Jones. John Williams got another nomination for his work on Indy. If there's any positive that could come out of that complete debacle of a project, it's the fact that John Williams gets at least another Oscar nomination in it. But Oppenheimer will probably win that as well. Original song. It's got the different songs, but here obviously I'm just Ken from Barbie. Again, they got a nomination. This is again one of those categories where I could see that as being a possibility, but look, they actually nominated the other song as well. What Was I Made For? And I'm like, that's a forgettable song. I don't even remember that where that is. I assume it's in the beginning. I don't know, whatever. Production design. Again, this is an area I always try to refer to this as set design, but I mean production design for Barbie getting that nomination. I actually could see that as a nomination, but again, this is all about Oppenheimer. Maybe Poor Things in Napoleon, but short film animated, if I can get access to these, because sometimes these will land on the streaming services or there's a way to get to them relatively easily. I've not seen these yet. So Letter to a Pig, 95 cents is Our Uniform, Pachyderm, and The War is Over. It's a John and Yoko thing. Yeah, and when I watch them, I'll let you know. Same thing on the short film live action. There's definitely several films there. Sound, which of course the creator gets a nomination in there. Maestro, Mission Impossible for sound, which makes sense. Oppenheimer, though, of course, will be the one to beat. Same with visual effects. Kudos for Godzilla -1 getting a special. I mean, this, to be honest, that is the one to win. I can't imagine creator Guardians. Oh God, Guardians. There's so much. I mean, even though there's not as much CGI or it's not as bad as other movies, and I don't think there's anything particularly fantastical about the special effects in Mission Impossible, and definitely not Napoleon either. So I'm really hopeful that that Godzilla can come home with something here. Adapted screenplays, American Fiction, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, Zone of Interest, kind of similar to the other categories. Kind of a crapshoot to me. Is probably Oppenheimer or Poor Things. But keep your eye out because something like American Fiction is one of those things where it could get the right kind of traction because of it checking boxes and stuff. Original screenplay, Anatomy of Fall, Holdovers, Maestro. May, December, which again, I don't even know what that is. Past Lives is very well regarded, but I don't know much about it. So the worst news, if there was any news for the Oscars, was the fact that Jimmy Kimmel's hosting. And I'm like, well, so much for wanting to watch that live. I'm out. But well, there you have it, folks. I'd love to hear from you guys. Films that you like, films that you got dissed. But listen, grab your bucket of popcorn, go over to Twitter, and watch them completely continue to melt down over the fact that Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig got snubbed in their opinion, and Ryan Gosling got a nomination. It's like a crap show on steroids. It's a lot of fun today. Enjoy. Take care, everybody. I am Pops.
Yeah.